What's up, everybody? My name is Shane, and I'm really excited because today we're starting a brand new series called BeHumble. And it's all about what it looks like for us to reflect Jesus' humility and Jesus' confidence. But before we get too far into this conversation, let's make sure that we're on the same page when it comes to those words. Humility simply means freedom from pridefulness or arrogance. So, people who have humility are people who don't show off all the time, they don't act like they're the best, they don't talk down to other people, and generally aren't out here acting like they're the greatest in the league. But confidence is all about being certain of yourself or something else. When you're confident in your skills, yourself, your faith, and your friends, you aren't worried about what other people think. You're simply sure of who you are. Now, when it comes to being humble, you may find yourself more familiar with what it means to be humbled. I think we've all been humbled more than we like to be. I know that's true for me. I'll never forget in middle school when, I really thought my crush liked me. So you know what I did? I got a little bit of swagger, I walked with a little bit of pride, and at lunchtime, I decided with my entire friend group behind me to walk up to her and tell her how I felt. Well, I did it. I had the courage. I was pretty confident that this was gonna happen. And she immediately made it very clear to me and all my friends that she was not feeling the same way. And it was rough. In fact, it humbled me really quickly, especially because it happened in front of a bunch of other people. And while that experience definitely hurt my pride, I think you could probably relate, hopefully not too closely. The truth is, there was a lot of that was just courageous. Like in middle school, I am actually proud of myself for taking a courageous step like that. But I don't know, if I had a little bit too much swagger or I went in a little too sure of myself, that's a little bit of a different story. In fact, the thing is, somehow, even when something doesn't work out in the end, there's this thing called pridefulness that can still feel like the best or only option. And I think that's what would have happened if I would have just thought I was better than her or better than anyone else in that moment. See, if you're like me, you may have found yourself thinking this way too. You believe that in order to get what you want, to be who you want to be, to go where you want to go, you need to be at least a little prideful to start. Now let's be clear, there is a difference in taking pride in something and being prideful, which is kind of what I was explaining with my story. You and I should take pride in anything and everything we do. Relationships, schoolwork, playing an instrument, playing a sport, a part in a play. Taking pride in something simply means that you value it. So I was proud of the fact that I stepped out and took a courageous step. But being prideful though, that's next level. Being prideful is when you feel like you need to be arrogant. You feel like you need to be smarter, more popular, more athletic. You feel like you need to be better than everyone else, and you want to know it and show it. See, if I would have walked away from that situation I'm too good for her anyways, that would have been prideful. I think that's because we get messages like this from the world around us on the regular, this idea of being prideful. They're messages like win at all cost, or use other people to get where you want to go. Destroy your competition. Be the best. So that's what we think we have to do in order to get where we want to go in life. And for some of us, let's be honest, this works, at least for a little while. This pridefulness pushes us to reach our goals. Even if we lose friends or hurt other people or act out of character along the way, we still get there in the end, which is really all we care about at the time because it seems to be what's most important. But for others of us, all this approach does is make us feel like a failure. No matter how hard we try or how prideful we are, it just doesn't work out for us the same way as it does for other people. Once again, we're humbled pretty quickly. And our sense of self-worth and confidence are hurt right along with our pride. No matter where you find yourself here, the truth is the same for all of us. At the end of the day, pridefulness won't get us where we want to go. It doesn't help us become the kind of people that we want to be. In fact, it has the potential to really hurt people in the process. Even if it works for a little while, eventually we'll be humbled along the way. So there has to be another way, right? Well, there's some really good news. There is another way. But this comes with a warning. This other way, this better way, isn't easy. In fact, it goes directly against just about everything we've learned about reaching our goals in this world. To get started, we're going to look at a letter written by Jesus' very own brother, this guy named James. Let's jump into something that he wrote. James writes, "God opposes the proud, but shows favor to the humble. Submit yourselves then to God. Come near to God, and he will come near to you." Okay, so James' message here is the exact opposite of what society has been telling us our whole lives. Society says putting others before yourself will lead to failure. God says putting others before yourself will lead to successful relationships and a full life. Society says pursue yourself and your own desires. God says submit to God, and God will lead you to an abundant life. Society says strive for greatness at all cost, and God says resist the pull to strive and you'll find peace. Okay, sounds pretty good, right? While it's definitely the way that I want to live, I find myself looking at this and thinking, how do I actually do this? How do I resist what society is constantly saying and trust what God says instead? Well, a few verses later, James actually lands his idea with this statement. James writes, "Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will lift you up." This is how we do it. By humbling ourselves before God and trusting that God will lift us up and help us when we do. Remember, humility means freedom from pridefulness or arrogance. So when we humble ourselves, it means we get rid of that pridefulness and arrogance. We humble ourselves before God and trust God to do the rest. So what does this actually mean for you right now as a middle schooler? Well, humbling yourself can look like apologizing when you're wrong, or serving someone when you deserve to be helped yourself, or celebrating others even when there's a reason for you to be celebrated. Humbling yourself could look like not bragging about your own skills or goals to make yourself look better, or not arguing when you know you're right. Humbling yourself could look like supporting someone else who does better than you do on a test, or being a good teammate even when your coach takes you off the starting lineup. Look, all of those things are really difficult, but what happens when we choose to live this way? When we choose to be humble? Well, as James said, God will lift us up. God will provide. And that's something that we can be confident in. In fact, I think that's what we can take away from James' words today. Be confident, be humble. And here's the thing. James wasn't saying that we need to mope around, pretend to be bad at things that we're good at. That's not it at all. He didn't mean that we should look in the mirror and talk badly about ourselves or not be proud of the gifts and the talents that we have. That is not it. Of course, you should be confident in the things that you're good at and the person that God made you to be, but that confidence shouldn't come from what you've done or how awesome you are. It should come from the fact that you recognize who created you and who your gifts and skills and even the breath in your lungs come from. God. You trust God's plan for your life because when you do, you can walk forward in confidence and humility, knowing that no matter the outcome, you're walking in God's plan for your life. So remember, be confident and be humble. What does this mean for us right now? Well, let's look back at James' words. What did he say? James wrote, "Come near to God." If we want to lead with humility and find our confidence in the right place, this is where it starts, by getting close to God. That's where I want you to start this week. First, find one way to come near to God. Maybe it's spending time in prayer or reading more of scripture, listening to worship music, or just showing up to small group to talk more about what you believe. Maybe it's pausing a few times a day and simply acknowledging the fact that your life is the result of a really good God. Look, whatever it is, start by taking just one small step to come closer to God and watch how your perspective changes as the result. And then second, ask for confidence and humility. When we come near to God, James shared that God will come near to us in return. And because of that, we aren't doing this whole humility thing on our own. We have God's real, up and close personal help to guide us in being confident in God and the abilities that God has given us. We have God's help in choosing humility even when it's difficult. Then we can truly be confident, be humble. I want you to imagine how your life might change if you chose to live with humility and confidence rather than society's path to success. If you didn't feel like you had to crush others on the way to reaching your own goals, or if you could release the pressure you feel to measure up to other people. If you could let go of what the world says that you have to do in order to win or be successful. If you could celebrate your gifts with confidence, not arrogance. I think you'd be surprised at just how much things change for you if you chose to be confident, be humble. So, when you head to group, I want you to think about this question. Who do you know who demonstrates what it looks like to be confident and humble?